The time has come. Disneyland, prepare for battle! It is time for the games to begin. What is up, everybody? Shaun Allen here. Yes, today I am starting a brand new series right now during my days of not being at Disneyland during the months of June, July, and a little bit of August. This is the first episode of Disneyland Battlegrounds. What is this exactly? Well, it's basically where I take two of the most popular attractions and pit them against each other in a battle to the death! Okay, I've said that so many times, that's not even funny anymore. But basically, we try to determine which one is better. In today's video, we have two very popular attractions, one coming from Disneyland and another from Disney California Adventure. Let's find out who our contestants are. In this corner, weighing in at 999 happy haunts, we have the Haunted Mansion. And in this corner, directly from the Twilight Zone, it's the Tower of Terror. So during this video, I will be talking to you guys about some very interesting facts that I found about these particular attractions and some other interesting statistics about each attraction, like how popular is it, how long did it take for them to build the attraction, how much money was put into these attractions, and how many different versions there are in the different Disney parks. And there's going to be other things along the way, so let's get started. Let's start off with the Haunted Mansion, located in New Orleans Square. We all know that it opened in 1969. However, Walt Disney thought of the Haunted Mansion way before Disneyland even appeared on the map. We're talking like maybe 1954, 1953. This was when Walt Disney wanted to have his park right across from the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. This is like right in the area where Travel Town and Steamers would be. Basically, we would have a small little main street, a nice little village and everything, but up on this small hill, there would be this run-down house. That would be the Haunted Mansion, folks. That's totally different from what we have today. All sorts of things there. But as you all know, we have the Haunted Mansion here in Disneyland in Anaheim. In 1961, they started handing out flyers at Disneyland saying, oh, we're going to open up this attraction in 1963. However, that had to be stopped because of the New York World's Fair of 1964 and 1965. So basically a halt was put on the attraction, but it wasn't open until 1969. So yeah, during that 6-year period, they were working on the stuff for the New York World's Fair and a couple of other attractions, including It's a Small World and Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, of course, Walt Disney had his ideas of what a Haunted Mansion would be like, and other Disney Imagineers thought of what the Haunted Mansion would look like, and they were trying to debate basically what was going to be better. Was it going to be more haunted? Was it going to be more scary? Was it going to be more funny or silly? To be honest, it's a little bit of both, because it has a lot of stuff in it that has a lot of humorous aspects to it. There's some stuff that's spooky about it, so all that combination really makes a really cool attraction, wouldn't you say? Now, unfortunately, Walt Disney was not able to check out the final attraction because he passed away in 1966, just 3 years short of seeing the Haunted Mansion in action. Now, during the time when Walt Disney was alive, they were actually planning a very interesting restaurant called, get this, Museum of the Weird, which was originally located in where the Blue Bay restaurant is now. But ever since the passing of Walt Disney, that idea got dropped, and the whole concept of the Haunted Mansion drastically changed significantly. Now, the story of the Haunted Mansion went all over the place in the beginning, and at one point, it wasn't even going to be an actual ride. It was actually going to be a walkthrough attraction. That means you got to walk through different sets, see different things along the walls, people be jumping out and scaring you, and yeah, it was completely different from what we have now. They decided to make it an actual attraction and use a device called the Omnimover, or what is known now as the Doom Buggy. The Omnimover was also used in a very popular attraction, Journey Through Inner Space, which is where Star Tours is right now. What? Oh, it's actually called Adventure Through Inner Space. Sorry, I got the name of the attraction wrong. Of course, the Omnimover would be a lot better than having a walkthrough attraction because a lot more people can go through the attraction instead of just having to walk through the Haunted Mansion in small groups, which would really delay the attraction and even just the enjoyment of the attraction. So I'd say that was a plus. What did you say? So the attraction opened in 1969 to a big crowd, and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. They got spooked a few times, and don't worry, I'll be going over some other interesting facts later on down the road, but I'm just giving you guys the basic story as to how the Haunted Mansion was basically created, and it's a very impressive attraction. And That's all I have to say about the Haunted Mansion. So now, on to the Tower of Terror. So back in the 1980s, there was a very interesting place called Disney MGM Studios. Well, it's actually Disney Hollywood Studios right now. But back in the day, this little land known as Disney MGM Studios wanted to come up with a very interesting attraction that was a dark ride that involved an elevator drop, which is, of course, terrifying. Whoa, I don't know if you heard that, but I just heard a car, almost get into an accident out there. Yikes. Oh, and for those of you who missed the Eiffel Tower at Disney Hollywood Studios, here's mine. You guys have this? If you've been to Florida, you might have gotten one of these things. It's a wind-up toy. Yeah. I was at Disney Hollywood Studios once, or actually in this case, MGM Studios, 2000. It's been about 16 years since I've been back to Florida. Oh boy, I gotta talk about that story sometime. So originally there was an idea for a haunted hotel attraction, and it was going to be narrated not by Rod Serling, but by, get this, of all things, Mel Brooks. But unfortunately that fell through, so basically that idea got scrapped, and they had to come up with something else. That's when they came up with the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. And in 1992, the land was cleared away of any debris and stuff for the new hotel, and in 1994, July of 1994 I believe it was, the attraction was open, and it's been an impressive attraction. I dare say that it's a scary attraction. So here's the story of the Tower of Terror. So it's the late 1930s, October 31st, 1939 actually, and it's a very stormy night. People are going in and out of the hotel. Everything seems all peaceful and calm until 5 people decide they need to go up to their room, so they take an elevator ride up to their rooms. Everything seems peaceful and calm. However, it's not. A lightning bolt strikes the elevator, causing it to crash down to the ground below, and supposedly it kills them, right? Before that, though, they vanish because of the lightning. So now, what is the problem? The only elevator that you can ride now is the main service elevator. In fact, I think Rod Serling put it better like this. The time is now, on an evening very much similar to the one we have just witnessed. Tonight's episode is somewhat unique and calls for a different form of introduction. This, what you may recognize, is a maintenance service elevator, still in operation, waiting for you. We invite you if you dare to step aboard, because in tonight's episode, you are the stars. And this elevator travels you directly into the Twilight Zone. Dum dum dum! And this is all done on a television screen, which makes it similar to a Twilight Zone episode. If you've never seen the show, go and check it out. But basically, you go into a library and you watch this video telling you the story or the plot of the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, and then you are escorted out of the library into the main service, the maintenance service elevator, and that's where you encounter the Twilight Zone. And let me just say that I have only been on the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror once. Here's proof. Here's the bell that I got, and here is my key that I never got to use because I was in the Twilight Zone. Yep, they had a room reserved in my name, and I never got to use it. The video should be coming out very soon of one of my vlogs, and yeah, you'll see my experience on that thing. It was terrifying. Of course, it got very popular, and people were like, hey, let's get it to the other theme parks, basically. So in 2002, Disney California Adventure got their own version of the Tower of Terror, and it was a little bit different from the Florida version. And don't worry, I'll be talking about the different versions of the different attractions as we go along through this video. But yes, eventually, California got its own Tower of Terror, and that's all I have to say about the history of the two attractions, the Haunted Mansion and the Tower of Terror. Let's now determine which attraction is better. So the wait times for both of these attractions can be a bit different. Like, for example, the Haunted Mansion can go from 20 to about maybe 30 minutes, whereas the Tower of Terror goes from like 30 to about 50 minutes. And I'm just going to look at my Disneyland app here and see which one has the longer wait time. Here is the Haunted Mansion, 20-minute wait. That's pretty good for the Haunted Mansion. Moving on to the Tower of Terror. Ooh, it's actually kind of light today. It's a 35-minute wait. That's still pretty good. But I think in terms of wait time, I think the Haunted Mansion is a lot faster because you go in and out like that. Even if you have a 30-minute wait, you'll get in that attraction very quickly. So I'm giving the point for wait time to the Haunted Mansion. So how long did it take for them to actually build these attractions? Well, let's look at the Haunted Mansion. It first started coming into production in about 1961, and it was opened in 1969. So we're talking about 8 years. Now, in terms of the Tower of Terror, they started working on it in 1990. Well, they were coming up with the concept of it, and then they started actually constructing it in 1992, and then in 1994, it was open. So that was about 4 years. Well, I hate to say it, but it took less time to build the Tower of Terror than it did for the Haunted Mansion. Now, I know the creativity was kind of slacking in a way, but we could probably take out a couple of years in terms of the Haunted Mansion because they weren't really working on it. So technically, it could have been like around 5 to 6 years, but still, it took them about 4 years to build the Tower of Terror. So in terms of how long it took for them, like the quickest amount of time for them to build the attraction, I'm going to give that point to the Tower of Terror because that one took much less time than the Haunted Mansion. Sorry, Haunted Mansion. So how fast are these attractions? Well, let's look at Tower of Terror first. The Tower of Terror at certain points to the right can reach up to speeds of around 35 to 39 miles per hour. That's the drop. Haunted Mansion, 2 to 3 miles per hour. That's pretty slow. Tower of Terror, you got that point. Big time. So did these attractions get any movies? Actually, yes, for both of them. Let's talk about the Tower of Terror. So for the Tower of Terror, it got its own film called, basically, the Tower of Terror. The only difference was that they took out the whole Twilight Zone reference out of the movie because they didn't want that. Probably because of copyright reasons. But what was really cool about this movie was that they actually filmed certain portions of the film at the actual attraction in Florida, because this movie was released in 1997 and the California version wasn't open until 2002. So they had to film in Florida. But still, filming it at the actual attraction is pretty cool, right? However, any of the interior shots that were used for the film had to be filmed in a closed set in Hollywood, California. So I think one of the pluses for this film was that they actually got to film right there on the attraction. So that means it had to be closed for a while so they could film and everything. And it was a pretty good film. Again, it was made for television instead of for the theaters. So the budget on it was a little bit less, shall we say, but still, it was a pretty cool movie. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. I really highly recommend it. And yes, the Haunted Mansion did get an actual movie that was released in theaters in 2003. Now, it wasn't as popular, you know, as everybody wanted it to be. And again, I don't know why. I thought it was actually a pretty good flick. There's a lot of nostalgic moments in the movie where you got to see a lot of very familiar things like the floating instruments, Madame Leota, the singing bust, the Grand Hall, the ghosts, the hitchhiking ghosts, they were in there. Basically, you got everything in this movie that was good, that was based off of the attraction. What could have gone wrong? Maybe it was the story, maybe the plot. I don't know, but still, I liked the movie. I thought it was cool. I watch it every Halloween. It's a fun movie, okay? That's all it is to me. And it might be a little corny in some areas. I guess some people thought it should have been more scary, but I thought, you know what? The Haunted Mansion is not supposed to be scary, okay? It was a kid-friendly movie, and it was very similar to the Haunted Mansion. At least I thought so. Although there weren't any doom buggies. Which I think should have at least appeared once in the movie. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Tower of Terror got to film at the actual attraction, whereas the Haunted Mansion, nope, they had to film at a different place called Sable Ranch out in Santa Clarita, California. And, yeah, they had to build a whole new attraction. Or not attraction. They had to build a whole new mansion. But the good news is that they used the New Orleans Square version of the Haunted Mansion for the movie, which I think pays a big tribute to the original Haunted Mansion. And it's pretty cool. They also do that in the comics. Ooh! Spoiler. Yep, that comes later. So in terms of the movies, I think the Haunted Mansion wins this one because the Haunted Mansion movie pays a lot better tribute to the actual attraction than the Tower of Terror. There's a little bit more that goes on in the Tower of Terror movie that isn't, you know, doesn't really relate to the whole Tower of Terror ride plot. Although the plot of the 5 characters inside the elevator and it crashing and everything. That part is actually in the movie. It's just that there are other things going on that don't seem to make a whole lot of sense, and it didn't really fit with the ride. So, Haunted Mansion, you get this one. Ooh, literature. This ought to be an interesting one. So, was there any literary works that were based on the Haunted Mansion or the Tower of Terror? Well, in terms of the Tower of Terror, to my knowledge, no. Well, supposedly, the Tower of Terror is based on a Lost episode, but it was just really an idea that they came up with for the attraction. But, in terms of the Haunted Mansion, yes, it's gotten several different storylines, and even a comic book series. As you all know, I'm a big fan of the Disney Kingdoms comics, and look at this. This is my Haunted Mansion collection of comics. A lot of them are the first issue. In fact, the first 4 are based off of the first issue. These 2, this is issue 2, here's issue 3, but these are from issue 1. This is the issue number 1. This is like the basic cover. I actually have a poster of this. Here's Haunted Mansion 1 variant cover with Constantine. I thought this one was really cool because it looks like the actual like Haunted Mansion poster. They just put this here instead of the hitchhiking ghost. I think that's a really cool tribute to the ride. Here's this one with the ghost playing the organ that is originally from the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie. And this is actually the Disney Parks version of the Haunted Mansion issue 1 issue. And believe it or not, I actually got the second print of the Haunted Mansion. Now there's a big difference because you notice that there's a little bit of a color change. There's some green in here, and I think there's a little bit more blue in here. So yeah, the logo's different too, just a little bit. But yeah, I'm a sucker for those things. Now believe it or not, that's not the only comic book series that's based off the Haunted Mansion. So is Seekers of the Weird. Now you may be thinking to yourselves, well, why is Seekers of the Weird so important with the Haunted Mansion? Well, it's because originally the Haunted Mansion was going to be called Museum of the Weird. And a lot of the stuff that you see in the comic series from Seekers of the Weird is actually from the original version of the Haunted Mansion. It's like, for example, this clock here. Yeah, and here it is. The melting candle. Actually, this looks very similar to this, doesn't it? So I think in terms of literature, the Haunted Mansion obviously is the winner on this one, because it's got a lot more literature stuff revolving around the Haunted Mansion than the Tower of Terror. So Haunted Mansion, you get that point. Alright, animatronics. Just how many animatronics are in the Haunted Mansion? A ton. There are a ton of animatronics in this attraction. Tower of Terror, not so many. They have 5 happy haunts. How many does the Haunted Mansion have? Supposedly 999 happy haunts. Most of them are invisible. Some of them you can see throughout the attraction, but 999 happy haunts. Haunted Mansion gets that point. Hands down. Now, in terms of the ride vehicles, I know I've talked about the Doom Buggies for a while here on the Haunted Mansion, but I'll also get into the Tower of Terror. But very quickly, let me just give you a little brief summary of what the Haunted Mansion has in terms of the Doom Buggy. It's basically an attraction where you get into these small ride vehicles called Omnimovers. You get 2 to 3 people inside of one. For me, it's just one because I'm always by myself. Sometimes I'm with a friend. And they come in one after the next, and like I said, they go about 2 to 3 miles per hour, and it goes by very quickly, okay? And this attraction has a ton of these things, and they allow you to move around, they jerk you around a lot, and I can't forget about the phrase that the ghost host says as you get into the Doom Buggy: "Do not pull down on the safety bar, please. I will lower it for you." It's like when you're on the attraction, once that the handlebar comes down, it's like, there's no turning back now. Now, in terms of the Tower of Terror, the California version is completely different from the Florida version, because the Florida version allows you to go through a different section of the attraction you basically, the elevator comes out of the shaft and travels along this track. Like, there are these sensors on the ground that allows it to travel during a certain portion of the ride to get to the shaft that takes you up and down on your little 39-mile-per-hour flight or whatever. And it's like incredible. Like, the technology behind this is so impressive. But the California version is different. But I find it interesting because the attraction allows for not just one elevator to be in the same shaft, but there's like another one. So like if you're getting on the attraction, there's already one right above you that's doing its whatever it's doing up there, taking guests through the Twilight Zone. So once you're starting to go up, that other elevator's coming down. So yeah, it's pretty impressive technology. Now this is going to be hard because you know what? In terms of giving the point out to which attraction, I think this is a tie. So I'd say, you know what? Let's give each one half a point. So 0.5 for Haunted Mansion, 0.5 for the Tower of Terror. Let's talk about the theme songs in the attractions. The Haunted Mansion has one of the most popular songs in all of Disneyland, Grim Grinning Ghosts, also known as the Screaming Song. It was written by Ex Atencio and was composed by Buddy Baker. It of course became popular in 1969 when the Haunted Mansion first opened. It has several different versions made for each attraction, plus it was used in the theatrical version of the Haunted Mansion. Another interesting fact about the Haunted Mansion theme song was that it was sung by well-known singer Thurl Ravencroft. He's actually portrayed as one of the singing busts in the graveyard scene at the Haunted Mansion. In case you don't know, Thurl Ravencroft was also the singer of The Grinch in the Dr. Seuss How the Grinch Stole Christmas cartoon. For the Twilight Zone, it was composed by Bernard Herrmann and was used in the show since the late 1950s. It was used in the attraction, however, when the movie came out, it was never even used. This one's going to be a little difficult, so since both of these theme songs are very popular, I think we have another tie. So each attraction gets another half point. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the different versions of these two different attractions. For the Haunted Mansion, yes, there is a Haunted Mansion in California, obviously at Disneyland. There is one in the Magic Kingdom in Florida. There is a little bit of a difference there because of the style, but in Paris, it's called the Phantom Manor, and the story is a little bit different from the Haunted Mansion story here in California. And there is actually a Haunted Mansion in Tokyo Disneyland, but it's not called the Haunted Mansion, it's called Mystic Manor. So the manor portion does come over into Tokyo from Paris. So Phantom Manor, Mystic Manor. So yeah, but it's a lot less scary, I think, than the Phantom Manor, because Phantom Manor looks even scarier than the Haunted Mansion. Now in terms of the Tower of Terror, yes, there are actually 3 different versions of the same attraction in Paris, Florida, and Hollywood, or California, but in Tokyo, their Tower of Terror is completely different. It's actually not called the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, it's just called Tower of Terror. I think in terms of originality for these attractions, Haunted Mansion, it gets it, because it basically has 3 different versions of the attraction, whereas the Tower of Terror only has 2. Haunted Mansion, you win. So after looking over the scores, I say the Haunted Mansion is the winner in this battle. Because the Haunted Mansion is, of course, an original Disneyland attraction. Nothing can beat the Haunted Mansion. Or can something beat it? Maybe next time. Well, that is it for this Battleground. What are your comments, guys? What do you think? Was this battle fair? If you have any other information you'd like me to mention about each attraction, leave in the comments down below. It'd be greatly appreciated and give a lot more insight to each attraction. There might be some things that I have missed in this video, but still, this was just an overview of everything that goes on between the 2 attractions. And in this case, the Haunted Mansion wins. Alright everybody, that's it for today's episode of the Disneyland video series. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, favorite the video, share with your friends, and of course subscribe to my channel. The Disneyland video series is greatly appreciated. Another video will be coming out for Disneyland Battlegrounds next week, and that's all I have to say. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope your day was a magical one. Bye-bye!